Going to be a player because he was so committed. When you was committed and got your heart in it as much as he did, honestly, if you could have seen his bedroom, it was covered with Man United, Brian Robson, Man United posters. He had the bed, Man United, everything, the lampshade, the works, and he was so committed to wanting to play for not only a football team but playing for Man United. There was no other team would have been better. Well, obviously, that was it. If it was Man United or no one really for David.
I've seen photographs or videos of David with his mum and dad when he was 10 and 11 years of age. There's one I think of him when he's about 12 or 13. 14, something like that. Alex Ferguson has got him in the, I think it was at Tottenham Hotspur as a kid. Can you imagine the thrill it must have been for him, meeting all these great players, and obviously Brian Robson was the captain of United at that particular time. What a thrill it would have been for him. I remember as a kid in Glasgow, Bobby Collins, Bobby Evans, Charlie Tully, walking along Argyle Street. I was about 10 or something like that, and I followed them for about 3 miles, just plodded along behind them, never spoke to them. Too shy or too embarrassed to go and speak to them, but just followed them because I recognised them. That was the great thrill about football.
Can you actually spot a talent early on?
Yes.
What is it that you notice first?
Well, quality. If a player's got quality. It's not just quality. I mean, a quality of skill or determination. I mean, tackling's an art, so he can be a hard man, but he's good at it. You can see something shines through, and what you've got to do is nurture it and bring it out and just improve it and polish it up. I think that's what they try and do at Manchester United or any club. But you're looking to see something different or some sign that this player has the quality to make it.
It's easy to hit the ball from here to there. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. But to maybe play it past somebody, maybe you've got the imagination to put that guy out of the game or something like that, which David certainly got. That's the big difference. And you can kick the ball here and hit that wall. But when you're on that pitch, football's quite an intelligent game. You have to play the ball past as many as their team as you can do. It could maybe take 1, 2 or 3 passes. Then you've got a free shot at goal.
You could tell in his control of the ball, he had those sort of touches. He had been at Bobby Charlton's soccer school and won an award that took him to Barcelona, and so people knew about him, and he came up to those expectations. He had quality, the touch, the control. Nowadays you see videos of him doing these tricks. Those were the things that he sort of practiced. It was the practice, I think, that got him there. He kept on, he was determined, and I think that's what you've got to be to get to the top. And when I first saw him touching the ball, you can tell when a player's worked at his job, and he'd worked at it.
I remember when he was younger, he used to turn around and go, yeah, I'll be David Beckham, number 7, Man United.
Yeah, because Brian Robson was number 7.
David Beckham, Brian Robson's his idol. Every time, Brian Robson now does a little bit of work at Old Trafford with the kids, and David says every time he passes by Brian Robson, he sort of doesn't know whether to bow or whatever. So we all had them.
This is where all our first year started off, in this building here. On the left here, that's where we played. I used to use them hockey goals.
David left Chingford School at the age of 16 to pursue a career at Manchester United, to fulfil a lifelong dream.
Just brilliant. Signing the paper and that, just couldn't believe it was happening.
When I see kids with Beckham on their, like, Man United tops and that, I think, yeah, he's done it. That's what he wanted to do, just play for United. Never wanted to go Arsenal, never wanted to go Tottenham. I'm going to go and play for Man United when I'm older. It's like when I was younger, I wanted to play for Arsenal. But obviously, I weren't good enough.
Yeah.
He was a junior then at Old Trafford. He hadn't even signed professional. And it was before he got in the youth team even. And he looked quality.
I mean, the way you've got to live is very, very important. You've got to not do all the things that you see all your pals doing, drinking and smoking. You can't do that. You're giving yourself not much of a chance. You've got to work very hard. You've got to work very hard. You can ask any... Well, to work very hard is putting it wrongly, because if you're out playing football every day, I done it as a kid, and most footballers done it as kids. You get the ball out all the time and play with it. I mean, and that's what you would class as working hard, but it's not working because you're doing something you really enjoy. It's when you do get to a professional club for the first time, that's when you have to start working, because lots of players come to the football club at the same time as you. You might have maybe 10 or 20 kids come at the same time as you, all equally as good as you. But if they get the same presence of mind, think, well, I want to be a professional footballer.
The standard is so high. I mean, if you're an ordinary player at Old Trafford as a schoolboy, they won't take you. You fall by the wayside.
Do you think possibly if he so wanted to play for United, he's a London boy born and bred, do you think he made that extra effort in order to play for United? He had the opportunity.
I get the impression he just wanted to be the best at what he did. And it's as simple as that. He'd made up his mind at a very early age. Although I read it his granddad, who I was in, but ironically enough, I was in HLI in Palestine when I did my national service with David's grandfather.
Excellent.
We played in the same football side for the HLI. And he's a big Tottenham fan, and he always wanted David to go to White Hart Lane. But David said, no, there's only one place for me.
I mean, people down through the years have said, well, I'm not going to go to this club or I'm not going to go to that club because I might not get a chance. If you work hard enough and try hard enough, you can make it.
I think you can. I think you notice that, say, when you go out to Brazil. I mean, one of the best teams of the
well,
world
we were
is
out there
Brazil.
a couple of years ago with Manchester United, and I mean, everybody plays football there. You just go down to the beaches and they're all on there, kids of all ages. You see men even at my age now playing football in the beaches. And so it's just a religion, and loads of them make it, because that's why they've got they've had the great teams they've had Brazil down through the years. Loads of them make it, and they're so dedicated to the sport. That's a very important word as well for somebody that wants to be a footballer. You've got to be dedicated.
Can you improve on that, though?
On his quality?
Yeah.
By encouraging him to do good habits. If players have good habits, work is number one, of course. If you're a good worker, you've got every chance of developing with the talent you've got. And I think I look at players, and I know they do now, and think, that lad, if he does certain things, will be an international.
Did you spot that in Beckham?
Oh, you could see it with most of that youth team that played. It was they were all in it together. But Beckham, you could say, this lad, if he does certain things, will be an international. And he was.
How did Alex Ferguson react towards him as well? Was there support there from him?
Like most managers, if you get the player, you pat him on the back, you give him a bit of sugar. But if he starts stepping out of line, then you've got to smack him one. And I think Sir Alex Ferguson does both. When they need a bit of sugar, he'll give them it. He'll give them a pat on the back. And when they need a slap, he'll slap them. And I think that's what will help them in their way to get to the top. But David, I think sometimes you get too much coaching, of course. I think you let them learn by watching all the players and different techniques. I used to watch various players in the old days, you know, the old heroes, and it was wonderful to watch players with skill, and you copy them, and that's what I think young lads should do. Copy the good things, not the bad things, not the pulling of shirts and things like that. The quality things, the step-overs, the drag-backs. These are things, control of the ball. That's what I think young players should be doing all the time.
Can you imagine playing football and somebody wanting to pay you? That's the great thing about it. You're doing something that you really love in life. I mean, I'm a great believer that the only people that enjoy going to their work every day are footballers. Things that happen off the pitch, like somebody thinks you become a famous figure, like David Beckham. I want you to sponsor my football boots. I want you to wear this, and I want you to wear that, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. To be fair, lots of clubs, and I know they do, Alex Ferguson does it at Manchester United, there's only certain things that will allow them. I mean, I'm sure different players at Manchester United today could be doing things every day in life which would take them away from the fact that they've got to train to keep themselves fit for football. So they don't allow that. He's very, very strict in that aspect of it, Alex Ferguson, about how much you'll allow players to do.
I'm a firm believer of right place, right time, yeah, but you've got if you haven't got a little bit of luck, you know, a little bit of luck that gets you through. You know what I mean? But he was I don't know. He was made. Do you know what I mean? To play there for Man United, I reckon. It all fell into place. There's little bits and bobs, and it just all fell into place for him, and that's why where he is where he is.
Could you see him playing for another team?
No, he's a red through and through. No, he wouldn't play for anyone but Man United.
But he's a London boy
all
born
his
and bred,
hype
isn't
about
he?
a big pardon?
He's a London boy born and bred.
Yeah, but I
You
mean,
thought his attraction would be
well,
towards
I
on the
mean,
London
today,
side.
if people say to you, "Where do you come from?" You say London. Oh, so you must be Man United supporter. But that's the feeling
That's
in
very
Manchester.
true. You travel around the world and you get that.
I mean,
kind
I
of
live in
effect.
Manchester, and I'll say to people, "Who do you support?" I say Man United. I say, "Where do you live?" It says London.
Is it still the best club in the world, Man United?
I think so.
When you support a club all through your life, to leave them would be such an hard thing to do. And because he loves them and loves winning things for them and their fans, because obviously he was a fan, you know, it's just, you know, there's no amount of money for that. That's his heart, that's his blood. He's born into the Reds.
Well, I think he decided it when he was about 7 years of age. I think there's no question about that. I mean, when did I decide I wanted to be a player? I wanted to be a player from I was about 6 or 7 years of age. You never know you're going to make it. You do your best. You do your best and try your hardest. There's a lot of people, I'm sure, out there that did their best and tried their hardest and didn't really make it. It was only a small, tiny fella to begin with. So you have doubts then. I mean, the great thing about David when he got sent off against Argentina was the great moral character he showed then. I mean, when you think of the abuse he was getting from the British media.
We did, I think, the David Beckham dartboard in the paper, where if you got him on the bullseye, you could exact your revenge. If you missed, you slid into Paul Daniels and Jeremy Beadle and other people we had on.
Made one big mistake. He made a few little mistakes as well, but I didn't. To be honest, I still think the referee and the Argentinian players helped to get him sent off, and the referee fell for it. And to get sent off, I've seen hundreds of players do similar things and not even get booked.
I think when they come back from the World Cup, when he was sent off, which was ridiculous. I mean,
do you think
Simon, that was a con?
Yeah.
And the treatment that he got when he come home from supporters at other clubs. I think the boy showed his character then. He rolled up his sleeve and thought, well, I'll show you.
Supporters United were quite good to David at that particular time. I think only for the supporters of United, David might have gone totally round the bend. But just to have that strength of character to come back and do that. But that's the strength of the man.
I think not only the Man United supporters were absolutely fantastic to him, and also I think true football supporters in Britain were good to him as well. They saw that he was unfairly done by, unfairly treated, and they rallied around him. And the only people who didn't like him is when, of course, when he was playing for Man United in certain parts of the country, people who hate Man United anyway took a lot of it out on David as well. But he just rolled up his sleeves and showed that he was bigger than that, and he was full credit to the kid, actually. He's done fantastic.
I think that's what kept David going, because I watched every one of Manchester United games, and the roar and the cheers and the humiliation they showed the fans when they came out with the childish or filthy chants, which, thank goodness, they've realised that they'd get more out of him for England if they supported him. But the United fans supported him right the way through.
I've never had a bad word to say about him. I've always, in a way, stuck up for him. Even when he's not been standing next to me, I've stuck up for him, you know. And people say all this and people say that about World Cup '98 and the red card. I've never had a bad word said about him. So he's my mate, and you know, I love him for it. I think he's done really well.
Do you think that people like David Beckham and other players have that same kind of urge to play for their own country as well as their team?
Well, I think that's the first thing you think about. It's all right playing. I think you've got to dream about your country. You always put your country first. It's the pride in you. If you're a Man United supporter or an Arsenal supporter, whoever you support, you want your team to do well and your players to do well. But surely it's your country is the ultimate.
He was petulant in what he did, probably wasn't a sending off offence, and we just decided to crucify